So, welcome to the session on sampling methods. We'll continue the discussion what we had related to sampling. Now, so here the important point we need to consider when we go for sampling. Actually, the population, the items or the whatever products we are going to consider, which consisting of large numbers, that is what we call as population. Right? So, in the previous example, if I take the number of students in a university, 1 lakh. So, that is what we call as a population. Now, to test the performance of students, what we are doing here, we are selecting students where the number equal to 1000. That is, we are selecting 1000 students from this 1 lakh. So, this is what we call as sample, right. So, from this 1 lakh, we are selecting this 1000, which we call as sample. Now, whatever discussion, whatever analysis we do it on this n equal to 1000. Now, this you can relate it to the your experience which you had in chemistry laboratory. Chemistry laboratory, suppose an organic compound is given, and in a test tube an organic compound with maybe 250 ml or 350 ml is given, and we want to check what is the organic compound given. So, then what we do is we will take a small part of it, then we will do all the corresponding tests like color, chemical reactions, some kind of test we do, and we arrive at, based on the test, this chemical compound is a benzene, benzaldehyde, then we attribute the same to the population. Same thing here. To find the characteristics of the population, we took the sample and we do the analysis on the sample. And while doing so, what are the important things we have to consider? One is, the first and important point that we have to remember is the size of the sample. That matters most of the time. Right? So, while selecting the sample, we have to see what is the size of the, suppose the population under consideration is of 1 crore, then if I select a sample with 1000, it doesn't make any sense. That is, the outcome that I get out of this 1000 may not reflect the entire population, which is very large. So, that is why we need to be very careful in choosing or in selecting the size of the sample. That is the first thing. And second thing is, in this example, out of 1 lakh, we are selecting 1000 students. So, how these 1000 are selected from the population? That is another important point we have to consider when we go for sampling. That is selection of elements in the sample or selection of the sample. The various methods are there, actually. Various methods of doing, that is, we can call as the methods of sampling. One is purposive sampling, what people call as. Purposive sampling is where already the outcome is defined in mind, that purpose of selecting the sample already defined. Keeping that in mind, we select the sample to show that these are valid. Right? So, with a purpose defined already, we select the sample elements and we come out with the conclusions. That is what we call as purposive sampling. And the second thing is the stratified sampling, and next one is random sampling. Like, various methods are there, but in engineering applications, engineering and most of the business applications, the most preferred or the most important method people uses is the random sampling. Right? So, random sampling is the sampling method which we use and people uses in most of the applications. That is where, so randomly we select, there is no preference, no prefixation while choosing the sample entries. So, every element in the population is having equal chances of being included in the sample. That is what, then only our sampling may give better results or the best results or good results. Right? So, we have to select the sample, and that is every entity in the population is having equal chances of being included in this. Right? So, that is selection of elements. Third one, sometimes we have to be very careful in selecting the sample. For example, Now one economic survey we are doing, that is to find the economic status of the people, how it varied from the last 5 years to this year. We are going to do some kind of analysis on this, where we are not going to select all the people in the country for this, which is of no use and which is a time waste exercise. Then what will we rely on sampling? So while doing so, what we have to do is we have to be very careful. That is because ours is a diversified society where the population is not uniform. Because the population is heterogeneous, we have to see that the population is divided into various homogeneous entities or homogeneous segments. Like maybe in economical status, if we consider, we have to divide the population into the middle class, above middle class, lower middle class, poor, rich. Then we have to select the sample such that every segment is having representation. Then only the study gives the approximate or the better analysis or outcome related to what we are doing. Otherwise, if it is not like this, then what happens? Suppose if we take the people who are in the above middle class segment, then it may not reflect the entire population of the country. So that is another thing we have to see. While selecting the sample, we have to see that the population which is not homogeneous has to be divided into various homogeneous segments, so that every segment is having equal proportion in the sample. So this is another one. And next important thing what we need to consider in doing the sampling is the tool, like which tool I am going to use, like whether means serve the purpose for me. Like that is simple example. Now I want to find the average life of the population, or I want to find the average life of the bikes or the products which I am going to produce in the company. So then what I do is I will select the sample, and to do the analysis on the sample, I have to select again the average. That is average life of the product, average mileage of the bike, average mark of the student. Like I will select average, and from this I will try to estimate, or I will do the analysis for the population. That is choosing appropriate. That is, it may be mean, or it may be a mode, or it may be standard deviation, whatever it is, depending on what your requirement. We have to choose an appropriate to do the analysis on the sample, so that the sampling gives the accurate or exact results what we are looking for. So that's why finally we can say that sampling is a very good method in most of the engineering applications as well as business applications, where given large set of data points, large set of the voluminous data, so we select the sample with less number of entities or less number of data points, so that doing or using the tools on the set of selected points becomes simple, so that we can arrive at conclusions for the entire population or entire data points which are under consideration. So we'll stop with this. Thank you.